لا القتال ولا السلاح ولا المتهمين باختيار الحدود.
مرتزقة الإرهاب الدولي الذين استخدمهم الأسد وعلى رأسهم إرهابيو حزب الله.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us on FutureTV. I'm Linda Tamim and these are today's top stories. Lebanese Forces leader Samir Jaja and Future Bloc MP Ahmed Fatfat demand the formation of a neutral cabinet, accusing March 8 of obstructing the formation of a unity cabinet. Syria's warring sides discussed the issue of terrorism at a sixth day of peace talks in Geneva, but the UN says there are no substantive results in the talks. And a Human Rights Watch report says the Syrian regime has deliberately destroyed homes in rebel-held neighborhoods. Lebanese Forces leader Samir Jaja says that the March 8 coalition is obstructing the formation of a unity cabinet. Future Bloc MP Ahmed Fatfat, who's met with Jaja at his residence in Merab, says the March 14 coalition had previously asked for the formation of a neutral cabinet, adding that Hezbollah's threats to Prime Minister Tamam Slam made this kind of cabinet difficult to be formed at this stage. Jaja added that the current deadlock over government formation allows for President Michel Sleiman and Prime Minister-designate Tamam Slam to form a neutral government, which he says could facilitate the conduction of a presidential elections. President Michel Sleiman has dismissed Israeli threats to target residential buildings in Lebanon and civilians as a clear violation to the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701. Sleiman says the Israeli remarks create instability among the Lebanese and urges the international community and the United Nations to deal with the matter. On Wednesday, Israeli Air Force Chief Major General Amir Eshel accused Hezbollah of establishing bases in residential areas and using civilians as human shields, vowing to destroy them in any conflict in the future. The Lebanese army has confiscated ammunition that soldiers found on board a car in Arsel. Security sources say the vehicle, a Renault Rapide, was intercepted at the town's entrance. They say the driver is of Lebanese nationality, adding that he was detained for questioning. Syria's warring sides have discussed the issue of terrorism at a sixth day of UN-brokered peace talks in Geneva, but the gulf over who is to blame remains deep. The Syrian regime is spotlighting hardline Islamist groups among the rebels and therefore slapping the terrorist label on the broader Syrian opposition. Syria's peace talks are moving forward with greater ease, but UN mediator Lakhdar Brahimi has warned against expecting substantive results during this round. Brahimi says the ice is breaking, calling the presence of both the government and the opposition at the negotiating table a step in the right direction. Brahimi says the delegations from Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's regime and the opposition National Coalition are set to determine on Friday when they will return to Geneva for their next round of talks.
I do not expect that we will achieve anything substantive. I am very happy that we are still talking, that the ice is breaking slowly, but it is breaking, and that we will separate on Friday and discuss what we will do when we resume. And I hope that the second session would be more structured and hopefully more productive than the first session.
The Syrian government has been deliberately and systematically razing homes, buildings and entire rebel-held neighborhoods to ground with bulldozers and explosives. This is according to a rights group on the ground. A new report released by Human Rights Watch accused the regime troops of entering opposition strongholds and destroying the buildings. The report documents 7 cases of large-scale demolition, described as unlawful. The group says the total area demolished is about 200 soccer fields and is seen as punishment for Syrian civilians supporting rebel forces. The demolitions were supervised by military forces and took place in the wake of violence. The group looked at 15 commercial satellite images and listened to a testimony of 16 witnesses whose houses were lost, including media reports, government statements, and more than dozens of YouTube videos. British Foreign Secretary William Hague says his country will act straight away to provide a refuge for hundreds of vulnerable Syrians brutalized by their country's civil war. Speaking in the Philippines' capital of Manila during a Southeast Asian tour, Hague said his government will act quickly on the pledge announced by Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg, who says female victims of sexual violence, the disabled, the elderly, and torture victims will be the targets of the program.
That we think there are particular cases of people who are particularly vulnerable, people who have been through or are at risk of violence, including sexual violence in this conflict. And so we want to give priority to those people. We haven't set a precise number on it, but we will take people into the United Kingdom in order to help them and give them some respite and some care after some of the things that they have been through.
In Syria, we're facing the worst conflict so far of the 21st century and the biggest humanitarian disaster of the 21st century. And so this is something, of course, that engages the whole of Europe, which we're all involved in working on. It is on Europe's doorstep and provides, sadly, threats to the national security of European nations, including the United Kingdom. Clearly, as a permanent member of the Security Council, we want to see a peaceful resolution of disputes. We want to see them resolved in accordance with international law. These points are very important. We don't take a view on the underlying sovereignty claims. And I don't think it would necessarily be helpful for all Western nations to take a view on every sovereignty claim outside the Western world. But we do want to see these issues peacefully resolved in accordance with international law in a rules-based.
Coming up next, how you can help to fund for Tripoli's Al-Sa'ih Tourist Library. Stay with us, we have the exclusive. Welcome back. For a special edition of the newscast, Yumna Naufal talks to Abdallah Absi about the book drive campaign to refurbish the Tripoli Library. On to you, Yumna.
Linda, yes, on January 3rd, Tripoli's Al-Sa'ih Tourist Library was torched and burned down, and more than 10,000 books and manuscripts were lost. Citizens and individuals globally have taken to launching drives and campaigns that could help rebuild the library. Father Ibrahim Suruj, the owner, is working in collaboration with Zumal, Arab crowdfunding platform aimed at promoting Arab creativity and innovation, as well as the Global Shapers, to raise a goal sum of $35,000, which will cover the cost of rebuilding and restoring the library. And it is with great pleasure that I welcome today the Chief Zumalian Officer at Zumal, and we're going to explain this to you in 1 minute. Hi, Abdallah Absi.
Hi.
How are you?
Great.
So, Zumalian... I'm going to get this right. Zumalian Officer at Zumal. Can you explain your title, first of all?
So Zumalian comes from Zumal, which is, in Arabic, it means someone who has money. It's a crowdfunding platform that supports creative projects in the region. So anyone who basically has a creative project or a community project that is about sustainable development, that's about creativity, about innovation, and so on in the Arab world, they can go on zumal.com. ZOOMAAL.com,
okay.
And they can submit their project, and anyone in the world can come and fund this project. So I'm going to give you a very small example.
The library.
Yep, exactly. That's it.
The library.
Yeah.
I mean, wait, this was, just to give a little history, this was torched at the beginning of this month.
Yeah.
And basically what we're trying to do now is, we know this was the second biggest library in all of Lebanon. And tell me exactly, what is this campaign about?
This campaign is about funding and supporting this library financially. There are many book drives and initiatives that are supporting this library on the ground by refurbishing and by fixing the bookshelves and fixing the books and cleaning them. There's an initiative called Kafana Samtan that's working right now on the ground, and they have split the library into several zones, and they have already finished most of the zones right now into cleaning them and refurbishing it. Everything.
And Zumal does?
When it comes to Zumal, we have took the initiative in taking care of the financial side of the Al-Sa'ih library. So they need right now around $35,000, and we are raising the funds for them online, because Ibrahim Sarrouj, the father Ibrahim Sarrouj, said that he doesn't want any political support from anyone. And he decided that he wants to open it to everyone, to the power of the crowds. And this is what Zumal is about. It's about anyone who has access to the internet can fund the project, and anyone who has a project can receive funds from anyone. So it's like a democratized funding.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much longer do the people have if somebody is willing to help? What is it? When's the deadline for this to end?
The duration of the project was 30 days. We wanted to raise the $35,000 in 30 days. But till now, we have already passed most of the time. We only have 10 days left.
So 10 days left.
We have raised till now around $19,000. We have still around $16,000 that needs to be raised. And one thing about this campaign is that if we are able to, if we only reach $20,000 or $19,000 by the deadline, all the money goes back to the contributors and nothing is left for the library.
So you have to reach 35,000 or nothing goes to the library?
Exactly.
Does that work with all of Zumal's projects?
Yeah. All projects.
So you have to make sure that you get the number that you started with, that you started basically with the goal of that number.
Exactly. This makes sure that the projects are committed and have a realistic goal. They're not just putting any kind of goal.
Who's contributing? Who's contributed so far? Do you have any names of people or countries or things of the sort?
We do have names, but the main point was to democratize it. We don't want to really put an effort on some names rather than others. Everyone is part of this. And till now we have reached more than like around 300 contributors from top 4 countries, which are the UAE, from Lebanon, from France, from the US.
And the US.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good. And so after you get this money, what is the next step?
The next step is we're working on the ground with Kafana Samtan, which is the...
Kafana Samtan meaning enough silence.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So this is a campaign that's running this campaign on the ground, and they're going to handle the funds that we have raised to them, and they will work on them on the ground and like refurbishing and rebuilding the library, new bookshelves, etc.
Anybody can contribute. I've had people ask on Twitter if they could contribute by giving books. Does it work this way, or this is only monetary?
So in Zumal, it's only monetary, it's only financial, whereas there are many other book drives that allow you to donate books to give to the library.
Book drives regarding this specific library?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So if you go to Zumal.com, if you go to the page itself, you're going to see all the other initiatives that are working already in book donations, for example, and volunteering, because some people would want to volunteer on the ground and support in cleaning the books or doing anything over there, whoever is not able to financially support. And in the end also, people who are not able to support it financially, they can share it on Twitter, they can share it on Facebook. This is the power of social media.
And power of social media, power to spread the world. For more information on how you can help, please log on to, and correct me if I'm wrong, www.zoomal.com. As you can see it on our screen, that's www.zoomal.com.
Yep.
All right, well, that was Mr. Abdullah Absi talking to us about the Sa'ih Library and how you can contribute in helping the fundraiser. Back to you, Linda.
Yumna, and on that note, we end our bulletin for today. Now for a quick recap of our top stories. Lebanese forces leader Samir Jaja and future Bloc MP Ahmed Fatfat demand the formation of a neutral cabinet, accusing March 8 of obstructing the formation of a unity cabinet. Syria's warring sides discussed the issue of terrorism at a 6th day of peace talks in Geneva, but the UN says there are no substantive results in the talks. And finally, a Human Rights Watch report says the Syrian regime has deliberately destroyed homes in rebel-held neighborhoods. That's it from Yumna Naufal and I here at Future Television. I'll be back again tomorrow with more updates. Make sure you tune in.
لا القتال ولا السلاح ولا المتهمين باختيار في حلول.
مرتزقة الإرهاب